Hey, I'm Zach McDonald, your real estate agent with Real Property Associates, and today's question that every home buyer should ask is, should I test for lead-based paint and asbestos? Now, both of these are not great, and there's negative health benefits that have been associated with lead-based paint and asbestos. The most common one of the more common disclosures that's provided in the purchase transaction is what's called a lead-based paint disclosure. And this is a disclosure from the seller about a home and regarding a home built before 1978. So any home built before 1978, at least in the Seattle area, could have or may contain lead-based paint either at some point in its history or currently. And so the seller is required to give a disclosure about their knowledge of that. Most of the time, I'd say almost 100%, but let's go with 99% of the time. The seller's going to say, I don't know, I don't have any knowledge of that, because they're owning the home right now in 2018, and it's a long time ago, right? Even 1978 is a long time ago. So most likely, if you're buying an old Seattle home, 1910, 1920, 1930, it probably had lead-based paint at some point. That's just the honest truth. But one of the common remedies is to paint over that, so that's a pretty common remedy for that. There might be 5-6 layers of paint over that initial layer. Or it could have been scraped off, painted over. Most buyers, actually, I've never had a buyer test for lead-based paint in a house. I've seen it on the other side. As a listing agent, I've had one buyer that tested for lead-based paint. They had small kids, and that was a big concern for them. The house was a early 70s house, so a lot less likely than maybe a 1910, 1920s house. You can, and as a buyer, are able to, if you want to, test for lead-based paint. I don't see it happen very often. One of the reasons maybe is because of how competitive the market is right now in Seattle. That is a contingency in your contract and an opportunity to back out, and one that sellers really don't want to see, just speaking from a seller's perspective. Now, in the case where my client accepted that contingency, it was 3-4 years ago, not as competitive, and it made sense in that situation, but generally speaking, you're not going to see that. So you can. I didn't on my own home, which is built before 1978. As far as asbestos goes, that's super uncommon to test for as well. There's certain products that may contain asbestos, and an inspector would point those out to you as you're going through the house if they thought, maybe these could have asbestos, and those would be opportunities to test. So definitely within your right as a buyer or a seller. A lot of people won't test those or choose to test them, but you certainly could.